So, starting my new writing vlog. It's Saturday, September the 27th, and as promised, I did get back to work tonight. I think I worked for only about an hour, but I got a couple of things done, and felt pretty good about it. I'm actually angry and kicking myself for putting it off, getting back to it this long. In part, I think I had stopped working because I was becoming increasingly angsty, depressed. I don't know, about the state of the country and the world and the pandemic. I'm worried about my kids and my daughter's canceled wedding. Anyway, lots of stuff. And the reality is that, at least for today, it was really effective. Working on this project was really effective. And again, this is basically, I'm writing a history of a military unit, a U.S. military unit that fought in the Pacific during World War II. My great uncle was a part of that unit, and so he is, and his individual recollections are a part of kind of the overall history that I'm trying to tell. So as you can see here at this part of the video, I'm typing. This is the part of chapter 5 that I had written in June and hadn't finished typing. So I did finish typing that. Despite my terrible handwriting, it went relatively smoothly. One of the things that I think I mentioned last time is that I like to write by hand so that when I type, I can do a little editing as I'm typing, and that kind of counts as like a half an edit, and then I'll re-edit it once I get it all typed up again and get the whole thing finished. So I did that. I finished chapter 5, and then I began doing my rereading, which I wouldn't have had to do if I hadn't put this off for so long. I began doing my rereading of the sources so that I could begin writing chapter 6 tomorrow. Now, chapter 6 is going to be short. There's a good chance that in my work on this tomorrow, I'll actually be able to finish the writing of chapter 6. Essentially, the military unit my uncle was a part of fought in New Guinea in 1943 and then went back to Australia, where they had originally been stationed for more training. And it's that part where they're back in Australia, that's the part where I'm going to be, that's what the next chapter is actually about. So just consulting my general sources, this first source is a kind of the formal history of the division that my uncle was a part of. It's the official history, and it's pretty good. I will say that it is oftentimes quite short on dates, which is a little irritating. The second source I have is a source that was a book that was published having specifically to do with part of the division I'm writing about. And it's a pretty good source, written by a journalist and not by a historian, but it's got some good information in it, some personal recollections. And then the third source you see is an actual book by someone my uncle, great uncle, knew in the Army and fought alongside in New Guinea and was actually friends with. And this is a book that he wrote about his military career, both in World War II and in Korea. And then this last source I'm looking at are actually letters written by members of an Australian family that my uncle became very close with during the 2 times that he was stationed in Australia. And they actually wrote a letter to what would be my, my great-grandmother. They wrote a letter to her, and then has some reminiscences of my uncle in it. And so I was reading that letter and going to use that as a part of this chapter. Anyway, like I said, it was a good day of work, and I feel like I accomplished something, and I'm feeling energized to start again tomorrow. Okay, Sunday, September the 28th. This is the second day of my return to my writing project and my writing vlog. So yesterday, I did the typing for the end of chapter 5 and the research for chapter 6. And today I had a really good, productive day of writing. I wrote all of chapter 6. It's pretty short. I don't imagine it'll be more than 5 or 6 type pages. It really is just kind of an interim stage at which the military unit I'm talking about goes back to its base in Australia for more training and recuperation before heading off to combat again in 1944. But there are a lot of elements of the story here in this section that I really like, particularly at the level of, my uncle's involvement and a friend of his involvement who wrote that book I mentioned yesterday, in which both of them had become close friends with an Australian family, and they'd met what I'm going to call girlfriends in Gladstone, Australia, and they spent just really what must have been just great times with this family, who obviously had a great deal of affection for them, and so that was really actually kind of fun to write about. So I should be able to type chapter 6 tomorrow night, and then begin, I think already, chapter 7, which really will begin the long, kind of prolonged period of chapters that are just about the war and combat that will go on. So I was really pleased with the progress I made today, and really pretty happy with the writing. I try to be really conscious of my verbs today, which is always a big thing for me, and I thought it went really well. So yeah, good day writing today. Okay, it's Monday, September 28th. This is the third day of my writing vlog. I'm going to wrap up this vlog on Wednesday. Hopefully this will be inspirational enough to keep me going, and I could stop using all of you as an accountability method to keep me writing. Basically, I just typed chapter 6 today. It took me a little less than an hour, but when I was finished typing, I decided not to go on, following my favorite piece of writing advice from Ernest Hemingway, who apparently said you should stop writing when you know what you're going to start with the next day. And I know that. I'm pretty confident that I can get busy writing beginning chapter 7 tomorrow, which will be a much longer chapter, but typing chapter 6 was really enjoyable. The material here particularly about my uncle and his friend's experience with the kind people of Australia who basically took him in and treated him like family, was really enjoyable and a little poignant to write about. Anyway, again, I feel like I had another successful day writing, and hopefully we'll continue that tomorrow. It's Tuesday, April 29th. This is the fourth day of my writing vlog, which will be 5 days that I filmed. I'll post it on Thursday, just to prove that I've actually been doing it to some people out there who may be doubting me. I hope people find it interesting. Today I wrote for about an hour and 40 minutes. Really challenging writing today. Essentially what I spent time doing today was summarizing the activities of the larger military units, of which I'm writing about specific smaller parts, and I'm really spending a lot of time summarizing the activities of the parts I'm not focusing on, which is challenging. The part of the military action I'm talking about, or was writing about today, is the biggest up to this point military action that this unit has been involved in. As a matter of fact, it involved multiple divisions, not just the 41st Division, which is the division I'm writing about. And it had them being transported from place to place to, fool the Japanese, and landing in various places, and individual elements then carrying out various actions and coordinating with other divisions. There was a lot of kind of having to get it all in my head properly, so I could kind of summarize it as much as possible. Because again, those units are not really the focus of what I'm writing about. I'm writing about a very specific military unit that my uncle was a part of, but kind of going from the division level down to the individual level, and focusing on my uncle's actual company. So there was a lot of summarizing to do, a lot of keeping track of which battalion was where and which company was doing what, and deciding how much of that detail to put in, and what I could get away with leaving out, and trying to give the overall picture of what was happening, which is difficult because there was a lot of stuff happening. Anyway, I got that part done, and now I'll be able to focus on the regiment and the company that my uncle was a part of and what they did during this attack, and then his recollections and the recollections of a friend of his who's now kind of had to come to the story because it provides me with more detail at the company level or at the individual level of what went on during that action. So I know what I'm going to write about. I have the big picture information in my head, so I should be able to discuss his regiment, and then what his battalion did, and then what his company did, and then what he and this friend of his who also wrote about their experience did. And that's I'm looking forward to that. And if I get all that written out tomorrow, I should be able to type what will then be Chapter 7 on Thursday when I post this long writing video. Anyway, I hope this isn't too boring for any of you. I am feeling rejuvenated and invigorated to do this, and I'm enjoying it. This is day 5, and it's really the first day that I struggled. This is the last day I'm going to include in the writing vlog. And I struggled for a couple of reasons. I got off to a late start. I had the pleasure of getting to sit up kind of late tonight and talk to my adult son who lives at home while he's finishing college. That's not an opportunity I pass up for anything. So I really didn't get started till 11:30. I was tired when I started, and then the work itself, the writing itself, was challenging. I didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to. I had visions of finishing the writing of Chapter 7 today, and I really didn't come very close to that. Again, the material was a little bit more involved than I imagined. In addition to that, there was a lot of technical information. I struggled with figuring out how much information to contain. So, if you remember back from when I talked about this first time, essentially what I'm doing with every action that my uncle's military unit was involved in the Pacific World War II, I'm taking that action from the division level down to the individual level. So, for instance, here in Chapter 7, I've discussed the division's actions during this phase of combat, and then below that is the regiment. That's the regiment my uncle was in, and below that is the 2nd Battalion. My uncle was in a company that was a part of the 2nd Battalion. Below that is the company level. My uncle was in a certain company, part of the 2nd Battalion, and then I go either to the platoon level or the individual level. So I just got to where I was almost finished with the battalion level, which doesn't sound like it got very far, but it was. There was a lot of hard work and writing in this, and as I said, I started it off sleepy. So not as productive as I hoped, but I am going to end the writing vlog here, and I am determined to continue on with it every day until I get the first draft of this project completed, and then I can look at places where I can add things and obviously work on the writing itself. That will be a long way towards having this done, and that will be an accomplishment which will hopefully lead me on to the next project. Anyway, I hope this wasn't too boring, and I thank everybody for watching.